Hi, and welcome to this half roller class. You will need your half roller. It can lay along your mat. And you may find that you need a magic circle or a TheraBand, or if you don't have either of those two things, a hand towel will do. You don't necessarily need them, but they're just optional extras. So we're going to spend most of this class laying on your back. So to get onto your roller, come sit at the base of the roller. Carefully lift your bottom onto your roller, minding your tailbone, and use your arms to carefully lay yourself back. Of course, you want to ensure that you're lined up with the roller, so have a little fidget and take a moment to settle onto your roller here. You can close your eyes for a moment and just breathe. Sometimes that's the best thing that you can do on the roller. And after a couple of moments of laying here, you might actually find you need to fidget. You might need to shift yourself. You might feel that you're not quite in line with the roller, and you can finally square yourself up. And that may change throughout what you're doing. So feel free to move about whenever you need to. So take the feet all the way together. See if you can bring the feet and the knees together. The inner arches are connecting, the inner heel bones, ankle joints even, the inner thighs. And you might feel that there's a little wobble. You might feel that there's a little shimmy happening. And see if you can let your body settle into it. Notice as you're laying there, do your shoulders want to grip? Does your back want to grip? See if you can allow everything to soften onto the roller. And of course, that fidget, that wiggle might keep happening. And that's okay. Let it happen. And then you can either work here with your feet and knees together if you feel that your balance will allow. If you feel that you're way too wobbly on the roller, please do separate the heels so that they're hip socket width apart, and then bring the ball of the foot into alignment. So your feet, your knees, and your hips are hip socket width apart. That might feel that bit more stable for you. So do go ahead and stay there for a moment to allow yourself to balance. And like I said, if you want to challenge yourself that little bit more, have the feet and knees together. As and when you do feel balanced, you're going to let the feet sink into the floor and allow your pelvis to roll back. So as you do, you'll feel that the lower back flattens towards the roller, not necessarily onto the roller. And then you're going to let the pelvis tip forwards. You roll through the sacrum, you roll towards the tailbone, and then your lower back is arching away from the roller. As you exhale, let the pelvis roll back. The tailbone rolls towards the pubic bone towards the breastbone. And then you're going to take the pelvis forwards, rolling towards the tailbone, arching the lower back away from the roller. And this may highlight your little shimmies, your little shakes. But see if you can allow that to settle the more that you do it, going nice and slow and noticing whether you press into one foot any more than the other. As you keep rolling, allow the shoulders to be soft. Mind that you've not started gripping in and up around the neck and shoulders. And your breath flows freely. And then the next time that your pelvis comes through neutral, you're going to stay there. Let the pelvis be nice and heavy, and close your eyes again for a moment, maybe just noticing what was in contact with the roller before and what is in contact with the roller now. And you might feel that you're a little softer on the roller. You might feel that you're a little flatter towards the roller, whatever it might be. So again, from here, you can keep your eyes closed to challenge yourself, or you may find that you need to open them. You're going to float the arms up towards the ceiling and have the palms facing inwards, the fingers long. Try and allow the arm bones to sink into the shoulder joint, and you might feel the shoulder blades meet the roller behind you. So if they're really digging into the roller, think about the collarbones widening, the shoulder blades widening here. You don't want them to just be digging in behind you, but actually finding their width. And now notice as you lay here, are the ribs in contact with the roller? Or does the base of your rib cage really want to flare? Is there a gap between the base of your ribs and the roller? So we're not trying to pin the ribs down, but we are trying to allow them to settle back towards the roller by releasing your shoulders. So as you inhale, you're going to reach the arms towards the ceiling. Your shoulder blades will come up around the ribs. And then as you exhale, melt the shoulder blades back over the roller. It's not a huge movement. You will inhale as you reach the arms up towards the ceiling. And your exhale melts the shoulder blades back down. Your inhale reaches. And your exhale melts. Trying to keep everything else nice and soft, no gripping, no squeezing. This is all about release onto that roller. We'll do one last one, but you could be here forever if you wanted to. Maybe noticing on this last one, does one arm reach that little bit higher than the other? And does one sink back that little bit lower than the other? Just keeping an eye on what you're doing. And now here, as the shoulder blades melt over that roller, you're going to inhale to let the arms open out to the side. So you want to make sure that you're in a T shape, not in a Y or not in a reverse Y coming down towards your hips, but you're in a T. And then maybe the arms come to the floor, maybe they don't. Don't force it. If there's any pinching around the shoulder, make your movement that little bit smaller so the arms may hover. And then as you exhale, you're going to roll the arms up towards the ceiling, keeping the shoulders nice and heavy, but allowing the arm bone, the upper arm bone, to move in the shoulder joint. Again, as you inhale even, open the arms out to the side. Maybe they come to the floor, maybe they don't. If they come into the floor, do they meet the floor at the same time? And then as you exhale, roll the arms back up. So we're trying to roll the upper arm bone in the shoulder joint. You might feel a little bit of a stretch around the pecs as the arms come down, especially if they're coming right down to the floor, especially if you've been sat in front of the computer or in the car. Your exhale always picks up the arms to bring them back up towards the ceiling. So we've done about 4. You're going to bring the arms up and turn the palms to face towards your knees. This time, allowing the little fingers to come down towards the ground. And as they come down, once again, you can notice there's one arm land before the other. Can you even it up? And then as you exhale, picking the arms up, rolling them up towards the ceiling, maybe noticing if one arm moves that little bit quicker than the other. And we'll do 3 more here. Your inhale takes the arms all the way down. You, of course, might have an extra breath. You don't want to hold your breath. Your exhale floats the arms back up. We've got 2 more. If there's lots of clicking and clunking going on, definitely make your range of movement a little bit smaller, or play around with your alignment. Sometimes it's the fact that your arms are going up into a Y shape. And yes, it is hard to tell at first. where your arms are going, but maybe keep an eye on both arms as they come down towards the ground. And you see your thumbs just out the corner of your vision. And you've got one last one. You can always linger in the stretch wherever you need to. The next one that we do, the palms turn outwards and the palms come towards the floor. This might be a completely different stretch, so see how you go on that first one. And once again, the last two. Your inhale takes the arms down, your exhale picks them up. Maybe as you keep going, notice what's happening with the legs, the feet. Have you lost your connection with your feet, or do you feel quite stable? Maybe glancing towards your knees, mind that your knees haven't splayed out as well here. And then this time, the palms are going to flip so they face up towards you. You can see your palms now. And as you open the arms out to the sides, your thumbs come down towards the mat. Your exhale picks up the arms, sliding those little fingers towards one another. And then again, the thumbs come towards the floor. Your exhale lets the ribs get heavy to allow the arms to float back up. And you're always paying attention to the timing of your arms here. Does one come up that little bit faster than the other? Maybe that little bit narrower than the other? You are keeping an eye on what they're doing to ensure they meet back at the top at the same time. They don't have to touch in the center. Sometimes it's actually just not possible. But you are bringing them up so they're over, your hands are over your armpits. Beautiful. Once you're back up, you're going to turn the palms to face towards your knees again. And then allow one arm to roll back behind you as the other rolls down by your side. So you're scissoring the arms away from one another. Once again, they might touch the floor, they might not. And then as you exhale, you're going to push the arms back up. They switch the other way. Breathe here. And then your exhale pushes them towards the ceiling. So keep going with this. So long as there's no pinching, so long as there's not lots of clicking and cracking and clunking going on. And if there is, start to play around with where you go to. So sometimes if I go to the floor with my right arm, it does clunk. I have to sometimes just hover away from the floor, but then it keeps the connection of my arm to my rib cage rather than letting it flop right down and completely losing that connection. And actually, just as I did it then, feeling the shift of the weight in my feet, I felt like I put more weight into one side than the other. So keep focusing kind of on your spines on the roller, staying nice and heavy, but these limbs can move nice and freely. And if any kind of pinching just persists, then go back to what we were doing previously. Both arms opening to the sides. Okay, if you're still scissoring the arms, you're going to bring them up towards the ceiling. From here, keep the palms facing towards your knees, the fingers nice and long, and you're going to allow both arms to roll back behind you. Now, sometimes it ends up that you come quite close to your ears. You actually want to keep a bit of space between the ears and the arms. So as you reach back, you're not kind of bringing the hands together. You are actually in a slight Y, like a high Y shape. And then you're going to push the arms back up towards the ceiling. And there is no real harm in taking the arms back and allowing your ribs to lift away from the roller. Sometimes that's just in your mobility to do that. But again, if it pinches at all, come back. Make the range that a little bit smaller. So actually, if we all do that here, we take the arms back behind you, but keep your ribs flush to the roller. And then you may feel how your abdominals start to connect. You're starting to feel that you're finding your center. It might even improve your balance as you're there. And then once again, you push the arms back up towards the ceiling. We'll do a couple more, allowing the ribs to stay flush to that roller. So no flaring of the ribs. You inhale and then you exhale to push back up. Sometimes as you reach back and you keep the ribs flush, that might actually only mean you go, say, 3/4 of the way back, halfway back even. Just working on keeping that alignment of the spine and the ribs, of course, to get the movement through the shoulder joint. Okay, the next time that you reach back behind you, you're going to linger there. Once again, as long as there's no pinching, pull the elbows out to the side so you create a little fork shape with your arms. Hopefully you can see me. So I've bent there at the elbows. I'm pretty much at a right angle at my elbows and at my armpits. And you don't just want to let the arms flop to the floor. You want to keep them hovering just a little bit to get the stretch through the pecs, right through the front of the arm. So the front. If again there is pinching in the shoulder blades, sorry, not the shoulder blade, the front of the shoulder in particular, push the arms back and release it out of this. But if that feels okay, you bend the elbows to get that strong pec stretch. And it might be that you find it and you go, oh, that's nice and intense. But say you come a little bit lower down with the elbows, you may find a stronger stretch. So you can play around with where that stretch is, so long as it's coming through the pec, through the front. If it is in the shoulder blades behind you, definitely lift those elbows up, and that should prevent it. You might have a little play around with it, of course. And then when you've had enough, reach the arms out into your T and circle the arms down by your side. That is more than enough for the arms. And now as you lay here, feel free to adjust. I feel like I've got a bit longer, so I need to move my pelvis down a little. You're going to let the lower back flatten towards that roller. And then arch. And maybe notice now how that feels in comparison with how it felt when we started. And then let the pelvis settle, lay there for a moment, maybe again with the eyes closed, maybe again with the feet and knees back together. You could test how your balance is now, but feel free to separate the feet if you really need to. As you're laying here, notice what's in contact with the roller and what isn't. So I definitely had quite an arch in my lower back when I began, but now I feel like my ribs really are flush to the roller, and I've actually got a little bit more connection going on through the abdominals. So one other thing while we're here, I will separate the feet, so bring the heels hip width apart, bring the toes into alignment with the heels. This is where you may want your additional prop. It is just for a little bit of stability, and you don't have to use it. We're going to reach that prop towards the ceiling. So I'm using the circle at the moment, but I will change with the band in a minute. If you've got a circle, you can hold the outside. If you've got a band or even a towel, you want to take hold of that and reach towards the ceiling. So I've got a gap between my hands. I'm reaching towards the ceiling, and I've got a little pull on that. So I've got tension through the band. Yeah. And with the circle, if you've got a circle, you're not squeezing it, you're just holding it here. So it is going to challenge your balance. If you feel way too unbalanced with your arms up, just keep the arms down on the mat, palms down towards the floor. You want to mind that you're not gripping and pushing into the floor though. If you find that you are doing that, we'll turn the palms up. So, in fact, let's have the arms on the floor to begin with, and then we'll add the prop in a moment. So, as you exhale, you're going to let everything get heavy into that roller. You breathe in, and as you exhale, allow everything to get heavy. You breathe in, and this time as you exhale, you get heavy, and your right heel is going to become lighter. So just the heel will peel away from the floor. The heel's up, the toes are down, you're in a little high heel shoe. And then bring that heel back down to the ground as you breathe in. And once again, as you exhale, you're hovering that right heel away from the floor. And your inhale lowers. Now start to mind that you're not rolling out to the outer border of that foot. You want to try and keep that nice alignment of the foot, the ankle joint. And when you feel that you've kind of got your stability here, you're not sliding around on that roller, you're not tilting to one side, see if you can allow that heel to hover and the left foot to become heavier. This sometimes is where we want to grip into the floor. Try and keep the arms nice and quiet as you keep rolling through the toes. And then you pick up that right knee in towards you. The pelvis is still in neutral, you're nice and heavy on that roller. And now here, as you exhale, you're going to place the foot all the way back down. Toe, ball, heel. Hopefully it lands where it was lifted from. I feel like I've come a little bit back. And you do the same thing. So your exhale deepens the abdominals. You can feel the abdominals knitting together as that heel rolls away from the floor. You roll off the toes to bring that knee in towards you. You're inhaling here. And then as you exhale, placing the foot back down, toe, ball, heel. So you might feel that you've got this nice stability here. Your left knee isn't wavering out to the left-hand side. You don't feel like you're wobbling all over the place. This is where you may wish to add your prop. So I'm holding my circle. I'm not squeezing it. I'm just keeping hold as I float the right knee. You stay for a moment as you inhale. You blow the air away to allow your abdominals to deepen to place the foot back down. As you exhale, the heel hovers, the toes float, you're rolling that knee in towards you. Maybe you can glance at that left knee, mind it's not leaning out to the side, you're still using that left foot as your stabilizer. Your exhale places the foot back down. We'll do a couple more. So your exhale floats the heel, the toes to roll the knee towards you. And now this time, as you place the foot back down, feel your pelvis get heavy, like you're being pulled into the roller. And that may give you a little bit more connection with the lower abdominals. We'll keep going, but just as of note, if there's a clunking happening in your hip, you need to get a little bit more connection with the pelvic floor and with the lower abdominals. Sometimes a little visualization is feeling the sit bones draw together, the hip bones draw together, and your lowest ribs draw together. See if that allows you to get out of the clunking. Okay, of course we could go on forever, but we'll rest down for just a moment. You may need to do your tilts, rocking back and tipping forwards. We have been on the roller for quite some time. And then you're going to let that pelvis be heavy again. We'll try the same the other side. So to begin with, the palms are facing down, your arms are long beside you. Your right foot is now your stabilizer. So allow that right foot to become heavy on the floor. And as you exhale, the pelvis gets heavy, the right foot gets heavy to allow the left heel to hover. And then your inhale is placing it back down. Notice any shifts perhaps going on up in your shoulders as again you exhale to float the heel. And your inhale releases. Your exhale hovers. Your inhale releases. And just as and when you feel that you're ready to, sorry, you're going to let the heel float away from the mat. You keep rolling through those toes. The right foot becomes heavy to allow that left knee to hover in towards you. So one side is going to be harder, tougher even than the other. I feel this is my tough side. I have to really find my right foot to allow myself to be stabilized. Whew, I really am wiggling. And then as you exhale, you place the foot back down, find the toes first, and then the ball, and then the heel of the foot. So yeah, if you find that you're having this little shimmy like I am, you may need to do a few just with the heel floating to get your stability, but feel free to add on whenever you're ready. So you keep the arms on the floor. You could be here with the arms just floating towards the ceiling. I just quite like having something connecting the arms. So this time I'm going to use my band so you can see what I mean. I'm holding onto the band and I'm just pulling the hands away from one another to give me a little bit of connection into my abdominals. And it is much harder now that I haven't got the stability of my arms or the stabilizers of my arms. So it really highlights. And if you find that you are just all over the place with these, then do just keep the arms on the floor, but mind you're not gripping around the shoulders. There'll be a little bit of action in the arms, of course, to stabilize you, but you're not clinging on for dear life. Notice as you keep going, is there tension creeping into the neck and shoulders? See if you can allow that tension to release. And then when you're about even, of course you can count. I just don't like counting. I like going with how it feels in your body. You can place that foot down. Take a moment to take the feet and knees together. See how your balance is now compared to perhaps where you first started. And then when you're ready, wiggle the feet wide on your mat, maybe finding the edges of your mat. You're going to carefully slide yourself to one side, as we have been there for some time. Slide yourself to one side, push the roller out of the way, and lay onto the floor. Notice as you lay on the floor how heavy your spine feels, and hopefully that rib cage is still nice and flush to the ground. You can wiggle your feet back into hip socket width apart and go back to those pelvic tilts. They hopefully feel relatively free. They're never easy, are they? But relatively free to move. You might even feel that you're able to peel up into your shoulder bridge. And then roll back down. And then take the feet wide on your mat. Take the arms wide out to your side and let both legs roll across. The knees tip over to one side, you breathe in. And then as you exhale, roll the legs back to the center. Go across to the other side. You can breathe in, you can always let the head turn in the opposite direction. You inhale, and as you exhale, come all the way back. And you can always stay there. Doing a few of those, just easing out your back, especially sometimes it feels like you've gained space, there's something's changed in your body. To see how that is. So today, bring the arms down by your sides, wiggle the feet back into the center and slide one leg long and then the other. And sometimes that's a nice place to kind of check in, especially if when you lay here, your ribs do flare away from the floor, but that should feel nice and released in the neck and shoulders. Just mind that you don't make any abrupt movements to come back up to sit in. Try rolling yourself to one side and pushing yourself up. And there you go.